Okay, so today in class we started talking about parallel lines a little bit, and we started to see some more angles, alright, more angle names, I should say, different ways we're going to discuss angles, alright. So the main goal of today is if we have two parallel lines, so K is parallel to S, okay, so we have our two parallel lines, and if they are being cut by a transversal here, that's what we would call this line that intersects. All right, our goal as the student is to determine how large, what are the measures of these other 7 angles if we're given one. Okay, if we're given one. So a couple things that we talked about in class today. Since these two lines are parallel, 65 degrees is congruent to 65 degrees. Okay, those would be alternating interior angles. All right, interior because they are inside or in between the parallel lines. Okay, alternating because they're on opposite sides of our transversal. All right. 65 degrees, this angle here would have to also be 65 degrees. That's a word from the other day. Those are vertical angles. Angles opposite each other are always congruent. So we have the same setup here, 65 degrees, vertical angles. All right, again, remember, there's our congruent symbol. Okay, now we got a few more angles we need to calculate. So if we want to start with this one, again, these two angles form a straight angle. So these would be our supplementary angles. So 180 minus 65 degrees leaves us with 115. So this would be 115 degrees. 115 degrees, we just said, alternating interior angles. So if this angle is 115, this angle is 115 degrees. Okay. A couple ways we can look at this. Again, we got vertical angles here. We can say those are congruent. Also recognize now, all right, these two angles are both 115. We would label those as corresponding angles. Okay, corresponding, which angles out of this group match up with which angles from the lower group. Okay, again, they correspond with each other. They would line up with each other, so they're going to be congruent. Same thing here, these two 65s. If I would place these down here on top, the 65s would match up as well. 115 vertical angles. Okay. So that's the main goal for tonight, is to be able to figure out those missing pieces. Just got some new terminology. Alternating interior. We would have alternating exterior angles. All right, and again, alternating would mean they're on opposite sides of our transversal. Exterior means they're on the outside of the parallel lines. So these two 65-degree angles would be exterior. These two 115s would be exterior angles. Okay, and they are alternating because one's on the left and one's on the right of the transversal. Okay, and they are congruent. All right, so that's the big stuff for today. To extend it a little bit into your algebra, all right, given this diagram, we've been doing this a lot lately, can we solve for x? Okay, so our goal is to determine what the missing piece here, x, would be. All right, and we know from class today that these two angles are congruent to each other. They are corresponding. All right, I take this point and I would move it down here. If I could slide it down here, this 140 would match up with the 2x minus 30. Okay, so that means they are congruent, which basically means I can set them equal to each other. Okay, I can set them equal to each other. And now it's just a matter of following up with all the algebra. Divide both sides by 2, x equals 85. Okay, So that's your homework for tonight. As always, give it your best shot and then bring any questions. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.